This is J. Krishnamurti's second public discussion in Madras, 1971.
What shall we talk over together this morning?
Is there an observer apart from the center of fundamental culture and knowledge? What is that state without observer?
Yes, sir.
Man's mind is a direct reflection of the objective physical phenomena.
Sir, slowly, sir, if you don't mind.
I want all of us to hear.
Well, yes, sir, but they can all hear if you read slowly.
The dreams are the direct consequences of his unsatisfied
What?
material achievements.
Sir, please, sir, not a long question. I have to repeat it. So make it, please, brief.
It is impossible to affect a mental order independent of this material physical order. Thus the speakers inquire into mental order as a separate realm is idealistic without any reality.
All right, sir. How can we live in? How can we live? That's enough, sir. That question is enough, sir. How can we live in this world without exploiting morally and physically?
Though you are against this present society, physically you get all that you need for your living. Is it possible to be in this society
Yes, sir. That's what we said.
without materially getting exploited or exploiting others?
You have explained awareness as an unconditional surrender to what is without rationalization, without the observer being served. What is meant by surrender? What is meant by unconditional surrender?
I don't, sir, all right. What do you mean by awareness without the observer? Or do you any more? Sir, you've already asked a question.
I have 3 more questions.
Yes, sir, I know, but let the others have some chance.
What is conceptual life?
What?
Conceptual life.
Conceptual life.
What is conceptual life? God knows.
How can I have, sir, full mind
Sir,
with us?
sit down here, sir. How
See,
can
all
you?
the part of mind is a
Yes,
feeling
yes,
outside.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Please, 1 second. I came here last 20 years, I am behind you. Because you can't understand
Sit down,
me.
sir.
Yes.
Right.
But how can
Right.
I have a full mind? That is
No.
my question.
Yes, sir.
The part of, you have allowed your photographs to see part of mind in a
Sir,
diverse
sir,
state.
please, sir, sit down, sir.
Oh, you see, you are giving a hypocritical manner.
Right, sir.
It's a question which might have been asked by many and coming for the first time. Does God incarnate in the form of a human body? If so, why? With all that to bring, there is a need for him to come in the form of a human body as well.
Why should God incarnate in a human body? I don't know why, but we'll see. What kind of questions are these, sirs? See, all these indicate, don't they? I'm just asking, sir. We are really not concerned with changing our own life, our daily, everyday battle. We want theories or say, what do you mean by this or that? We don't seem to apply what one has heard or observed to oneself. So shall we discuss this question, which is that gentleman raised? What do you mean by awareness? Shall we discuss that? Would that be worthwhile? Huh?
What is the role of effort?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. What is the role of effort? Shall we discuss talk over together the question of awareness. Yes? Would that be of interest? Sir, just a minute, sir.
What is meant by mental order without the physical order?
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
One question, sir. Before you discuss awareness, when one is aware of one's own self, aware of one's own being, from moment to moment, he faces a sort of vacuum. When I am aware of myself, from moment to moment, I am feeling terribly lonely, alone. How to get over that?
Right. We are going to go into all those things, sir. Shall we discuss this? What it means to be aware. Shall we? Does that interest you, please? Not as a theory, not as a speculative formula, but actually find out what it means to be aware in our daily life. Okay, shall we? So aren't you aware of the things about you? When you come into this pandal or what it's called, aren't you aware of all the surroundings here? Are you? Huh?
Please, yes.
Be quite sure, sir. Be quite sure.
I think it's quite sure. We are terribly sure.
What, sir?
We are terribly sure about that.
Very?
To be living is to be aware of one's surroundings.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Are you aware when you came in of the pillars, posts, how this pandal is built, what that mango tree looks like? To be aware of, physically aware of your surroundings. Is one aware of it? Or one walks in with blind eyes, just making your way, not observing anything? So isn't awareness, doesn't it begin being aware of the things about you, environmentally? Being aware of the environment. What do you say, sir? This is a discussion, it's not a talk by me. What, sir?
Need not necessarily be aware of everything that is around.
I said, sir, are you? You see that this is just an argument, not necessarily be aware. Is one aware? Are you aware, not of everything, but just the colors of the plants, the creepers? Are you aware of it?
Whatever the practices,
Oh my God.
any normal being will be aware of that. Sir.
Huh?
Any normal being.
First of all, he says, any normal being is aware of that. Are we normal? Sir, do find out, sir. Don't just make statement. Let's find out what it means to be aware. Let us explore it, dig into it. Once you begin to inquire into it, you're going to discover an awful lot. But if you just listen speculatively, you won't find out. So let's begin by being aware, if one is, of the environment in which one lives. The squalor, the dirt, the pollution. You understand what's taking place around you. Now, if you are aware of it, how are you aware of it? Sensorily, with the senses, or with a conclusion in your mind about the environment? You understand my question? Are you aware of the environment as it is, or are you aware of it through a series of ideas? You understand my question? Which is it?
It's a series of ideas.
So, you look at the environment through a series of concepts, images, ideas, don't you? That it is beautiful, that is not beautiful, that is ugly, that house shouldn't, you follow? You've got concepts, conclusions. And through those conclusions, you observe, right? Are you aware of this fact? Are you aware that you look at the environment through your own concepts, your own images, or the images or concepts of tradition? Do you understand my question?
Primarily through the objective.
Huh?
We are aware of these things, primarily governed by the objective we have. For example, when I came in here, I was seeing whether there was a crowd and where
Quite.
I sit.
Where you?
And my concentration on
Yes. Therefore, you are not aware of the whole thing, of the environment. So just please go slowly. We'll find out a great deal. Do we observe, aware, are we aware through ideas, concepts, images, or are we merely aware without any directive, without any motive, without any conclusion? You've understood my question? Which is it? Which is it you do?
Awareness is one conclusion oriented, and alienation of awareness is conclusion oriented. It binds me to the
That's right. So you are
conclusions are important.
so you are aware of your environment through a series of conclusions. But just a minute, sir. Go slowly. What do you say? Oh my. Just to observe, sir, with your eyes. Do you see the flowers, the trees, the cars, the people? Actually see them, or do you see them with your images, with your conclusions, with your fears? You understand? So this is a simple question. So you see things through your ideas, is that it? Through your conclusions, right? Would that be right? Oh my. How could you see without your mind? We haven't even talked about the mind. I'm just asking you, sir. First, listen, sir. Do you look at me, the speaker, just listen, with ideas, concepts, or do you just observe him? He's part of your environment. Right? How do you look at him? Obviously, you look at him with certain conclusions, don't you? Now, these conclusions, these ideas prevent you from looking, don't they? Right?
But we observe it along with another factor.
Yes, sir. Therefore, you don't observe totally. That's all.
The observed mental is totally, they reflect the dialectical materialist connections.
Sir, be simple about this.
Inexorability of material
Sir,
connections.
do listen, sir. Do you look at your neighbor, who is part of the environment, without a conclusion that you have about him? Or do you look at him through a conclusion, through a prejudice? And if you do look at him through a prejudice, through a conclusion, you don't see him entirely. That's all my just simple point, sir. Right? If I want to see you, I mustn't say to myself, you're a Brahmin, non-Brahmin, you're a lawyer, you don't look nice, haven't washed. I must look at you. Mustn't I?
But it is not necessary seeing it, to see it as a whole, together with all the factors.
We'll come to that, sir, slowly. Good. So I'm asking myself, and I'm therefore asking you, how you observe. How are you aware? Are you aware totally or partially? Partially being to look at somebody or the environment, the trees, the flowers and so on, through a series of conclusions, ideas. You have to know this, sir. Find out. Now, when one does that, you can't neglect the conclusions. You can't neglect the ideas you have about him and the prejudices and so on. You put that aside for the moment and you observe, don't you? No? I give it up. So look, do you, the questioner, observe with ideas or having ideas and conclusions and prejudices, look, putting those aside for the moment. I know, of course not. When you look at a poor stranger, of course you have no ideas. But the moment he says something, you have begin to have your conclusions. You see, you're not even...
So would it be any more like to look at objects merely as such? Are there any conclusions?
Sir, do try it on yourself, sir. Don't talk about the animal. Do it yourself. Find out. What, sir?
Look at an object. Is there any conclusion with reducing ourselves to an animal?
Find out, sir. Don't say you will reduce yourself to a state of animal before you have tried it. Which means you have to understand before you put aside your ideas and conclusions why you have formed them. Haven't you? Why they become so extraordinarily important. You observe a flower without a conclusion. Then you form a conclusion. Then you say, I like that flower. Or you don't like that flower. First you observe, then you like or dislike enters into that field. No? Well, but madam, why should you have a concept? Observe first. Why should I have a concept about you? First I must observe, mustn't I? I must look at you. My goodness, you just throw up a lot of words, don't you? You don't see how and why these conclusions arise. I give it up. I really do. You are not experimenting, You're not digging into yourself, you're just throwing up of ideas. First, sir, look, may I talk a little? I know you're used to being talked to, but let me talk a little. You see, we want to find out what it means to be aware. Whether it is possible to be aware with a prejudice, with conclusions, with series of ideas, and if you have them, will they prevent awareness? And what does it mean to be totally aware? That is what we are discussing. That is, what does it mean to be totally aware, and is it possible to be aware without any conclusion? And what does it mean to be partially aware even? You see the... Now let's begin. What does it mean to be partially aware? I come into this tent because I want to find the best place, right? And I rush in and sit at the best place. I am not aware of all the people around me, of the environment. I am concerned with having the best seat in the place. So that is a partial awareness, isn't it? Right? No? Because I have a motive, because I want the best place, therefore that prevents me from observing the whole thing. That's simple, isn't it? No? So, can I come in, listen to it first, without a motive, observe everything around me, and sit where I can. That observation is entirely different from the awareness of coming in, wanting the best place and sitting down. You see the difference? Do you see the difference? Wait, sir, un momento. So what happens? I come rushing in, wanting a place, sit down. I'm not aware of what's going on around me. And there is another who says, I'll find a place where I can, but I'm awfully interested to see all those flowers. Well, marvelous colors they are. Lovely with the light on it. How beautiful they are. And I'll find a place. I'm observing the environment, watching everything, and find a place I can. But the place is irrelevant. I'll find the best place I can, but that is not relevant. What is relevant is to observe, right? You're listening to all this. So, the partial awareness is when I am concerned with having a best place in the tent, and an awareness which observes everything and finds a place where it can. You see the difference? So the mind that is watching everything may find a best place. You follow? But that is irrelevant. So the mind observes, but it is incapable of observing all round if there is a motive. That's clear? Now, have you a motive when you look around? Find out, sir. When you look at somebody, have you a motive? Have you a prejudice? If you are a Muslim, will you look at a Hindu without a prejudice? If you have prejudice, then you look partially, right? If you have no prejudice, then you can look, right? Find out whether you have a prejudice. So from that we begin to find out that it is possible to be aware without a motive. Right? Right? Aware, observe, without saying, I must have the best place, and forget everything and get a better place. Whereas if you are aware of all this, you may find a place, but that becomes irrelevant. So the mind can observe without motive. Right? Yes, sir.
What is the essential thought?
Just a minute, sir, the gentleman.
If I come to a place for different occasions, the first time I may look around and I may take in all the information of everything that's around, and I establish in my mind the picture which has something to do with this.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
According to my view. And then the second time I don't observe so much, and the third time I take it for granted.
What happens then? That's it. You see what that gentleman said? First time I come here, I observe. I take in everything. I make a picture of it, record it in my mind, and there they are. The flowers are there on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, and all the rest of it. Then the second time, I don't observe so clearly. Third time, I take it for granted. Right? See what has happened. Just see what has happened. I have formed a habit which prevents me from observing. Right? Right? So, conclusions become habits. Right? Ideas, first time I observe all this, how nice or not nice I observe. Then second time I observe little less. Third time I take it for granted, which is a habit. So habits prevent observation. Right, sir?
Yes, sir.
No, please, sir, do. So have I habits? Find out, sir, have you habits which are conclusions, which are prejudices, which are a series of ideas, and these habits prevent you from observing. So a person who is burdened with habits is not capable of being aware, full stop. Have you got that? If I think in terms of a Hindu, or as a professor, or as a scientist, and that's my habit, then I observe very casually everything around me. Right? So have I and you a series of habits which prevent you or me from observing. I have to find out, haven't I? So, be aware of the habits. Forget the environment for the moment. Be aware of your habits. Are you aware of your habits? Not merely physical habits. So,
If I'm angry, if I'm aware of my anger,
no,
the anger doesn't dissolve.
wait, sir, we haven't.
Anger gets suppressed.
Sir, we'll.
And again go back to the dustbin. And after some time, the anger comes again. If I'm aware, again it gets suppressed. So
Sir.
long as the anger is suppressed, it cannot be released or it cannot be dissolved.
We-
It's in the mind only.
So we're coming to that.
The thought related to anger can have its outlet only through anger.
Sit down, sir. We haven't come to that. Sir, we haven't come to that point yet, sir. We'll come to it, sir. The gentleman says, anger can only be emptied in the mind when you yield to anger completely. We'll come to that presently if there is time. We see that there is no awareness as long as there is a series of well-established habits. Right? Have you established habits? We have, haven't we? Huh? We're bound to have them. So the next question is, just go slowly. To be aware of those habits, and can those habits be dissolved, put aside? You understand? I have a habit, if I have, of what? I have a habit of getting irritated. Right. Now, is it irritation? I don't accept, first of all, when you say I'm irritated, I don't accept it. I want to find out. I don't say I am not or I am. I want to find out. Am I irritated? When you ask the same question over and over and over and over again, not listening, and somebody asks irrelevant question, am I irritated? Or I say, look, please stop. We are sticking to this point. So, suppose if I am irritated, can I observe that irritation? Please listen to this carefully. Can I observe that irritation without any conclusion? You understand? Without saying I must get rid of it or I must not get rid of it. Can I observe that irritation?
You cannot.
Huh?
You cannot.
Wait, sir. Find out. Don't say we cannot. You see, would that be called an irritation? I said, please wait. We'll ask you second time. You follow how you translate and I translate. What appears to you as an irritation, I don't consider as an irritation. So, I am irritated. Suppose I am irritated. First of all, I am aware of it. I say, by Joe, yes, I was angry. I was irritated. They are too stupid. They can't think clearly. I'm irritated. Then I say, why am I irritated? I don't want to be free of irritation. I don't know why. Is it didn't I have proper sleep? Go into it, sir. Proper sleep, lack of food, not enough rest. You follow? All these are contributory factors to irritation. Are you following all this? And
Examining that irritation.
what?
Are we not examining this irritation with the knowledge of what are the physical contributors?
I have to go through the analytical process just to show, but I don't analyze. You see, you know. So what happens? Then I say to myself, how is it possible for me to be free of this irritation, right? I found out I am irritated. Not because you tell me, I want to know. You understand? I want to know why I'm irritated. I have found out why I'm irritated, and I say to myself, now is it possible to be free of irritation altogether, right? You understand my question? Huh? Now, how? I am aware that I am irritated or angry or envious. How being aware of that fact, my next question is it possible to be free of that fact?
How that person rises? What should that person raise?
What?
Suppose we want irritation for our material wants.
Well,
irritation become necessary, sir?
yes, sir. If you thought by by slapping me, it is necessary by slapping me you can get your material wants, huh? Maybe, sir. No, I just don't speculate, sir. By hitting me, you think you will gain your material want. Then I'll call the policeman if there is hand nearby. Huh?
That is the struggle of the capitalist mode of production.
Ma che pa. Oh. You see, now we're off. I just want to know, sir, please just listen. Don't call capitalist or communist. You know, these terms are the most dangerous terms. We are talking of the necessity of not getting angry, right? I realize I am angry or irritable or envious, and I say to myself, I am aware of it. I know I am irritated, angry, jealous, envious, or ambitious, or stupid. And how am I to be not these things? Don't you ask that question?
Why is it necessary? If anger is an essential element of realizing our material wants, what do you want us to express of anger?
I don't, sir. Will anger produce, first find out, will anger produce your necessary wants, physical wants?
Sometimes in our struggles with others,
Huh?
in our struggles, manifestations of struggle with others, anger is an essential element of struggle.
So, you are saying anger, two people angry with each other.
That's the hypothetical case.
No, sir. Why? Isn't yours also a very hypothetical case?
Anger is an aggression that is necessary for living in the society.
You assert that anger is necessary to live in this society,
Complicated society.
in a complicated society.
Communist society.
No, wait, I've understood it. Anger is not necessary in a communist society. Do you know, sir, how angry people are in the communist world?
Because the full transformation of man, the communist ideals are not been established.
That's it. Now we are back. You see? Therefore, in the... Your head, sir. Sorry. No. Sir, look what you are saying, sir. You are not observing the facts, what is actually going on.
Why do you want to dispense anger?
Sir, wait, sir. When you say anger is necessary,
Anger or aggression or whatever it is.
no. This is the most Sir. So we talked about the other day that society needs changing. And society is a structure created by human beings, by you and me. We are part of the world, whether the communist world or the capitalist world, or a world that is supposed to come, utopian world. We create all these patterns ourselves. And we are saying, as human beings living in this world, is it possible to change so as to bring about a different society altogether? Not communist society or capitalist society, yet quite a different kind of society. So to find that out, I have to inquire as a human being, myself who is part of the world and the world is me, not as an idea but an actuality, is it possible for me to change? And is it possible for me to change radically? Is it possible for me to change my habits as a Hindu, as a Muslim, as a communist, as a capitalist, as a Catholic, and so on, so on? Is it possible radically to change? That's what... I understand all this, sir. Please, we've been through all this. No, sir. No, please, sir. This is the well-known pattern repeated all over the world. First establish the perfect world around you, materially arrange everything, then human beings change. Right? That is the good old communist or dialectical concept of life. Change the environment and everything will come in order. Now, who is going to change the environment? The bosses, the Politburo, the theoretician of a particular theory? And you see what has happened throughout the world. They don't change. On the contrary, they suppress. They deny freedom. So, to change the world, you have to change yourself. Not apart from the world, because you are the world. So you have to change yourself. So you have to observe yourself. You have to empty your mind of habits. As a Christian, as a Hindu, as a Buddhist, you follow? Or as a communist. So because that is necessary. So that's why we are saying, is it possible becoming aware of my envy? Let's take envy. Because all our society, whether in the communist world or in this world, is based on envy. Different degrees of success. Now, is it possible, being envious, to free the mind of envy? Because if I have envy, I'm going to create the same kind of society. A hierarchical society. A society of authoritarianism. More and less. The man who is a great artist gets everything he wants. And the poor laborer doesn't get it. Even in the most communist world. So, is it possible for the mind, becoming aware that it is envious, to be free of that envy? Right, sir? Right?
Completely changes. These are the question of awareness.
That's what I'm doing.
And habits prevent awareness. And not merely one habit which you can individually observe, but a multitude of...
I'm going into that, sir. I'm coming to that. One has many habits. Not only envy, but physical habits. Not only physical habits, but habits of fear, habits of sexual habits. You know, habits. Dozens and dozens of them. Unless the mind is free from these habits, you cannot possibly create a new society. Full stop, obviously. So is it possible for the mind to be free of habits? Not just one habit, but the entire gamut of habits. You understand? My habit is to consider myself as a Muslim or as a communist. That's my habit, with all the other habits involved in it. And as long as I have that habit, I'll regard the rest of the world as, infidels or God knows what else. So I'll fight. I'll be angry. Because I'm going to defend my habit. So, if one is really deeply serious about this matter, then one asks, is it possible, being aware of these habits, to empty the mind totally of all habit? Go on, sir. Habit being a repetition. Saying, I am not, I am not, the repeating. Now, can the mind be empty of it? A child has no habit, but it soon gets a habit. So, do watch yourself. You have habits, haven't you? Now, how will you free the mind of the habits? You understand, sir, how difficult this question is? If I consider myself as a capitalist or a communist or a religious person or this or that, I have established and I live in that habit. That habit is me. And that becomes an enormous weight on the mind. I can't see clearly. Therefore, I'm asking, is it possible for the mind to put aside these habits? Now, how is this to be done? Right? That's the next question. Not form another habit. You follow? Drop capitalism and become a communist, then become a Mao, then become Mao, and so on. And don't laugh, please. This is what is happening in the world. I move from one theory to another, hoping thereby to create a different environment. Establishing a utopia in the distance and working for it. It's all in the same pattern. So now the next question is, I'm asking, is it possible for the mind to free itself? Now, that's, having put the question, let's investigate it, right? First of all, if there is an action of will against habit, it breeds conflict, doesn't it? If I say I will have no habits, you follow? That's impossible. You understand, sir? That is, if I exercise will against habit, habit doesn't end. Haven't you noticed it? Right? Therefore, you say, now, I won't exercise will. I'll put it aside. Because will is not the answer. Right? So have I really put any action of will altogether away from me? Find out, sir. Because I know will not answer this question. We have tried it. Will implies suppression, conflict, denial, running away from it. Every form of escape through the action of will, right? So there will be no exercise of will at all. That's one point. Then, analytically, will not solve the problem either. You understand analytically what is implied? Need I go into that? Oh my God. You know what one is saying analytically? That is, examine it. The cause, why the habits have existed, trace it, go very, very deeply into the cause and effect. Right? You follow? Cause and effect. Now watch it carefully. We think cause is fixed, and the effect is also fixed. Isn't it? The cause is one thing, and the effect is habit. And we think these two are fixed, unchangeable. But if you observe, cause becomes effect, right? And the effect becomes the cause for a future effect with modification. So there is a chain process. It's not a fixed thing. It's a movement. Cause, effect, effect becoming cause, and so on and on and on and on. In that we are caught. You follow? So there is no way out of that either. Right? So analysis is not the way out. Will is not the way out. Are you following all this? Then what is the way out?
But that question brings back to
Huh?
that question. What is the way out? Immediately brings back.
I'm asking purposely, sir. I'm not so dumb as you think I look. Huh? Please let us go into this. Don't laugh, sir, please. Please, just let's look into this. I see examination, analysis of the cause, which takes time, does not solve this question of free the mind from habit, nor will, right? Because will implies resistance. Where there is resistance, there must be conflict. And where there is a conflict, becomes a habit. You have accepted conflict as a habit. Haven't you? You say that's part of life. I question it's a part of life. So, then I want to find out, is there another way of looking at it where habit can be freed without any effort at all? You understand? Because I see if there is an effort, there must be will, there must be resistance, there must be conflict, right? Which means when there is the analysis or the action of will, there must be duality. You understand? There must be duality. The analyzer, the introspector, and the thing analyzed and looked at. Those are two things. And when you resist, there is also duality. Now, is there a way of looking non-dualistically? You're following all this? Is there a way? I'm asking, I don't know yet. I'm going to find out. I can only find out if I've discarded these two. Right? You're following this? I must put these aside completely and never go back to them again. Because they're false, they don't help man. So, I'm asking, is there a way of looking without duality at habit? Right? Now, what has happened to my mind when I have put away these two? Analysis and resistance, which is will. When I put those two away, what is the quality of the mind now when it has discarded those two? What is your quality of your mind when you say, no, I won't anymore exercise will, I won't analyze anymore? What is the state of your mind? Huh? It becomes simple, right? And what else? Go on, sir, explore. No, don't use that. Sir, don't. Go into it, sir. Find out what is the quality of your mind when it has put aside that which has no validity.
It is a full mind.
You are guessing, sir, just guessing. You see what that gentleman said? Just listen, listen, listen. He said it is waiting for an answer. You understood what he said? He has discarded those two, will and introspection or analysis, and now the mind says, I've finished with those, now I'm waiting to see if there is another way. Right? Waiting. Wait, listen to it, just listen to it. Waiting. Why should it wait? If it is waiting, it is hoping. Then you're caught. You understand? The moment you say, there is a hope that I will get rid of it, then you are had. Because that hope becomes the motive. That motive then prevents you from observing. As when you came into the hall, into the tent, you wanted a seat and rushed there and sat down, never observed. So in the same way, when you have a motive, there is no way out. So you have found one thing: motive, will, introspection. If you have got rid of those three, then what is the quality of your mind? The quality. What's up? Huh?
He says that it becomes Krishnamurti.
Oh my. Too bad. You haven't done what? What, sir? Yes, you throw in a lot of words. You are not observing yourself, sir. You haven't done these things. That's why you are saying things which are totally irrelevant.
Your mind is free of those.
That's it. Is your mind free of those, sir? Huh?
Yes, sir. Free of those three points at that moment.
At what moment?
The moment of when you get angry or the habit, and when those two dualities are separated, it becomes free.
What? No, I can't make out.
But it can definitely earn no existence.
What?
It can never earn any material existence.
You're bad. You see, sir, it is not so easy as he points out to put aside these three things. And that's why you have no answer. You are just guessing, you are just throwing out words. So you have to go back and find out why you exercise will to get rid of anything. Because will means resistance. I resist communism. I resist capitalism. I resist Catholicism. You resist. Fight, fight, fight. Because I have an idea. I think there is a perfect utopia in the world. I belong to it. And everything else I'm going to push in that direction. And so on. I fight. Until I resolve that problem, that question of will, all its implications, I shan't move to the next. So I must really go into this question of will, which man has accepted as a habit. I will do this. I won't do that. I will become that. Which means, please just listen, which means we are slaves to the verb to be. Please listen. We are slaves to the word to be, in which is involved becoming or having become. You follow? We are caught by that word. Wait, sir. Just listen first. The word. The word creates the idea. The verb, with its active present, with its past and future. I will be, I have been, I am. We won't go into all this. So, we are slaves to habit. And because it's the easiest, we think that's the easiest way to function most efficiently. If I say, well, I will not have habit, I will not be angry, we think we have solved the problem. We haven't. It has gone down, hidden, suppressed, and it's going to come out another time. So I have to go into this question of habit and find out its true worth. And we don't do this. Whether it's in the communist world, socialist world, or in the capitalist world. This has become one of our habits. I will be the great man, I will be the dictator, I will be this or that. Yes, the opposite. Yes, much more obvious here. So, I have to, is it possible to function without will? Well, sir, where are you?
The question has again got into either waiting or is it possible? That means it is possible by one.
No, is it possible? And it may not be possible. You don't have to accept the possibility or the impossibility. All that you have to do is to examine, explore. I don't know whether you can live without will. And that means a tremendous intelligence. Because we have always functioned in habits, which is the habit of will. I want, I won't, I don't want. So the man who has really understood habit and will, the whole structure of analysis, which implies motive, such a mind, you see, I'm asking what is the quality of such a mind. You will never find out unless you have done this. If you haven't found out, you will create another society which will be equally rotten as this. Whether you call it communist, Mao, or super, whatever it is. Because this is a central human problem. And you think by changing the environment, you're going to change the human quality of the mind. The very brain cells themselves are caught in this. Therefore, is it, listen, sir, I'll stop now. Is it, the brain cells are the result of time. They have evolved. They have been put together through experience, through knowledge, through various incidents, millennia, thousands of years. And these brain cells have retained the memory of all that. You can observe it in yourself. You don't have to read books. Now, if the brain cells themselves are functioning in habit, listen to my question. If the brain cells themselves are caught in habit, how is it possible to be free of habit? You follow? Because intellect is part of this habit of the brain cells. It says, the intellect will solve my problems. Of course. So, how is it possible for the old brain, you understand, that is the old brain, which has lived for millennia upon millennia, 75,000 or million years or more. How is that old brain, which has accumulated such extraordinary information, memories, remembrances, knowledge, which is necessary at one field, at one level, and how is that brain to be free of all the unnecessary habits, like nationality, like ambition, like envy and so on? I am asking the question because unless there is a mutation in the brain cells themselves, you will not create a new society. So the important thing is to find out whether that thing can be changed. I'll show you it can be changed if you will just listen. Oh, what's the good of telling you? Listen, because you will repeat it. And that's all. You have read so much, that's why I told you. Now, you know, when there is a challenge, and challenge is always new, isn't it? Otherwise, it's not a challenge. When you have a challenge, like death, like earthquake, like insult, challenge, the old brain instinctively responds, right? Haven't you noticed it? Have you noticed this simple fact? The old brain, with all its habits, responds instantly to a challenge. Now, if the old brain could retard, hold back, and not immediately respond, there is an interval between the old and something new taking place. You get it? Are you following this? Look, sir, just look. You know, look at the progress from the bullock cart to the jet. You know what the jet is? Jet airplane. Now, the man who invented the jet was very, very familiar with the piston, with the internal combustion machine, engine. He constructed, he was part of that, he knew all about the internal combustion machinery. And the same man discovered the jet. You follow? How did he discover it? There was an interval between knowledge of the old, where he said, I must find out a new way of functioning, of producing engines. He waited. He didn't let the old brain come into operation. He waited, watched, and suddenly came upon it. You follow? So, I have been told this by a friend who is an engineer and so on. He says there was an interval between knowledge, which is old, and the new. The new can only take place in that interval when the old brain is completely quiet. Right? You get the point? No. Now, can you, with your response of the old brain all the time, you're a Hindu, you're a Christian, you're a communist, you're this, you're that, you follow? Can that old brain remain quiet for a while? Not all the time, don't ask all the time, which is silly. Can that old brain, when there is a challenge, be quiet? And that is meditation, you understand? To understand the whole structure and the nature of the past, which is the brain, which has been put together in time. So can the old brain, which is the repository of all habits, you understand? Of all memories, which is the past, can that old brain hold back, quiet down, so that when a challenge comes, there is a totally different kind of response. Not a Hindu response, Muslim response, communist response, but a totally different kind. Therefore you have to understand the whole nature and the structure of the past. Understand? That you are, after all, the past is the repetition of memory. Past is the result of thousands of years of propaganda that you are a Hindu, right? Thousands of years. And you say at the end of 10,000 years, say I'm a Hindu. So repetition, propaganda, that is the function of the old brain. So if you want to discover something new, a different way of living, therefore a different environment, therefore a different government, therefore different relationship between human beings, you have to retard the old brain from jumping into the arena.